Maximizing Moments with Milton. Welcome to this audio experience. I'm definitely no expert in relationships, but I do have experience. I'm going to share some thoughts with you, men. It's going to take you a long, long way. Hey, Maximizers, thanks for joining me today as we talk about relationships, particularly for men, as I am excited to share with you. Men, 10 ways we can build trust in a relationship. Ooh, that word trust brings a lot of thoughts to it and emotions because trust is really needed when it comes to relationships. How many people really want to be around people they don't trust in relationships? How many people really want to interact or do business with or play with or whatever you may think, anything that has to do and revolve around relationships? How many people really want to be with those people they do not trust? And especially, I'm only coming from a man's perspective, and I know that what I have to say today is going to even appeal to those that are not men or that are women. And in relationships, and I'm going to give you hopefully some keys and nuggets and some thoughts and my experiences that's going to help you either find trust in a relationship, restore trust in a relationship, or really just understand what trust means in a relationship. And so before I jump in, I want to talk about my experiences. You know, there was a time in my marriage where I wasn't very trustworthy, if you can believe it at all. Uh, there was a time where I didn't really trust myself and the things that were going on and things that I was doing and how I was thinking or perceiving my life in relationship to my bride and my wife. And I share these things because I think if you've been married or have an extensive relationship at some point, I believe there's been a breakdown of trust. And I think that breakdown of trust doesn't really originate at that time and space when trust is broken. It originates back in time and it kind of comes forward and comes out at a moment in time. And I want to share some things and thoughts where when I was working on restoring my relationship with my wife, some things that restoring my relationship, restoring trust in my relationship with my wife, some things that I did and some things that I've uncovered over time as I continue to work on these things. And I want to share them with you, men, and hopefully you can gain some wisdom out of this as well and apply it to your own life. And even if you're listening to this, you're not in a relationship, think about your businesses or your professional life or just your everyday life with family and friends and how trust truly is a cornerstone of relationships. And if you can identify where there's been a lack of or breakdown of trust, you'll be far ahead of the game and owning it, number one, knowing that you can't change the other person, but owning it for yourself of how you can restore trust in those relationships. So here are 10 ways to build trust in a relationship. And I'm going to say, particularly for men, but women, you can listen in and hopefully some of these can resonate with you as well. Number one, I want to share is that you have to earn it. Earn it. Don't assume trust exists and always be working to earn it. Don't assume that trust exists. When you stop taking trust for granted and make it a priority, you will consciously, of your own actions and perceptions, do things in relationship to her actions towards her. So you're always earning trust. Trust can be earned. And if you never assume that it's always just there, do things every day in, day out, that garner trust. Let's move on to number two. Number two thing is keep your promises, men. It makes sense that you want to keep promises you make to her, but often the little things get overlooked. Make keeping your promises about little things as important as keeping your promises about big things. Call when you're late. Remember your promises to pick up that thing at the grocery store that you said you would on the way home from work. Fill up the gas in her car when she expects it or needs it. And while these things may seem small, they go a long way towards building trust with her. So keep your promises in the little things, and I know that you'll work to keep your promises in the bigger things. This is very important to understand. Number three, keep your secrets. This is one I want to dive in just a little bit, but don't keep secrets from each other. Instead, keep them for each other. Let me repeat that. Do not keep secrets from each other. Instead, keep secrets for each other. Let let your spouse, your wife, or your partner be the shoulder, the ear that you lean on, or the ear that you speak to when it comes to personal things like secrets, like inner thoughts, or things that you know about your own life that you really want to share, and come open to about with your spouse and partner. So I've been married for going on 19 years and been together with my wife going on 21 years. Wow. And there's still things about each other that we're still uncovering and discovering. And it's okay because emotions and things change over time. And there's things that, frankly, don't come to the surface until some point in the moment and relationship happens. And so you can't just like, hey, blow up everything and throw up everything that you that's inside of you in your life, because you just don't want to do that. It's like reading off the side effects of a medicines of a pill at the end of a commercial. This may cause blah, 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 blah. This may cause diarrhea, headache, vomiting, going to the bathroom frequently. If you have any things that like this, do not take this because this will cause XYZ. So you don't go through all that in a beginning relationship. There's things that you um, might share in the beginning, but then there's things over time that become evidence or come to the surface because you're going through that moment and experience in life. But remember this, keep your personal conversations at home. It's only right to talk about something once you hear the other person bring the subject up in a conversation, but keep those personal conversations at home. Also realize she might share information only with certain people. And if it's her story, so let her tell it and flow from there. So let her have her story, men, and just flow from it. Don't reject it, don't judge it, just flow with it. So do not keep secrets from each other, but keep secrets for each other. Number four, I want to talk about is communicate openly and in person. Make it a rule that most communication, especially important subject matter, must happen in person. The true meaning of a message can get lost via text. If you know what I'm talking about, or email, or sometimes over the phone, what you send in a text is not what's received on the other end. So you have to backtrack, and then you have to say, no, that's not what I meant. This is what I'm saying. Or you have to make a phone call, and it's still on the phone. It's not really coming across very clearly. But when you communicate openly and in person, it breaks down all the walls and barriers, and then body language becomes important, tone becomes important, eye contact becomes important, and then just the words that come out. You're more thoughtful in your words when you're in person, and a touch becomes important. So these things are important. So communicate openly and in person. Make sure you are both heard and understood by talking face to face. Let that be known when it comes to important conversations. Don't do it by text, fellas. Don't do it by email, over phone, but do it in person. Here's number five. Don't judge. You might not understand why something is important to the other person, but the fact is that it is important, is all that matters. It is important, is all that matters. It is important, is all that matters. So don't judge, man. Don't be a judge of what comes out of your wife's mouth, out of your spouse's mouth. Don't judge that. Before you can trust, you must respect each other and your differences without judgment. And I'll leave it there. You must respect each other and differences without judgment. That's something I had to learn through some counseling, is not to judge, not to be the judge and the jury when it comes to conversations, but be a man that listens, like the juror. Where all we're doing is you're listening and you're listening, and then you're taking time, you're stepping back from the situation, then you're formulating a thought. You're not as soon as the plaintiff is up, or as soon as the defendant is up, the lawyers, and they're giving their pitch or whatever about the case, you're not immediately called to give judgment. You're just asked, you're sitting there to listen. Take the juror stance in relationships and just listen. And then when you have time, when you deliberate, when you go back and you think about it, then come back and communicate openly and in person about what you heard. And I guarantee you're going to go a long way and go a long way in building trust in that relationship. Here's number 6. Become vulnerable. Ooh, men, become vulnerable. This can be tough for men, really tough. But be real, and be real with what that means is sharing things that you often keep hidden. Be real. A lot of times, men, we want to have our box and we want to keep things in that certain box. But I guarantee you that if you, at time to time, open up that box that is hidden from your wife or spouse, you become vulnerable and you allow her into your box and to look inside, and you pull things out that are important to you or that have meaning to you in your own life. And when you do those things, you're sharing experiences, you're sharing a moment with your wife, and that becomes the vulnerable piece. And I guarantee you, women love it when you're vulnerable. Not weak, but vulnerable, meaning that you're showing the chinks in your armor, the scars on your body. You're allowing her to become part of your world. So become vulnerable. The ultimate sign of trust is living your truth. And by doing so, she will be more comfortable living hers. So if you live with the truth that you have, that you're struggling, or that you're weak, or your fears or your doubts, and you're living that truth with her, she feels more comfortable living hers with you. And then here again, there's no more divide, there's no more covering up. You're both vulnerable and at the same place, same time. Again, she's your shoulder and your ear, and you're her shoulder and her ear. And that's where you start to build that trust together. I hope you're getting this, because it's always some things that you have to think about. Here's number 8. Be forgiving. Trusting doesn't mean mistakes won't happen, and when they do, be forgiving, men. Holding on to past transgressions will only erode the trust in the relationship. We should feel the ability to make mistakes, and so should she, without it being a constant source of contention. Letting go of the hurt, accepting the apology, and moving on builds a trust based on truth and love. If I can tell you one thing above all that I've shared with you up to this number 8 piece, is be forgiving. Forgive yourself, forgive your spouse, forgive your wife, and allow. I'm a believer, and I say allow yourself to receive God's forgiveness. Forgiveness is very key to building trust in relationships and having immaculate relationships. Here's number 9. Work on your personal growth. Now, this one, I remember doing this, and I still do it, is that you have to take time knowing that it's not, you can't control the other person. All you can do is control yourself. So you have to take the time to build yourself up, to personally grow. Whether it's, and I did it by reading books, and I listen to audio, watch video. There's things that you can do on your own to change your mental state, to bring you from a point of possibly blame, a possible rejection, or possibility of unforgiveness, to a level ground, playing ground, where you can start to stand on trust. And trusting yourself is very key, and you do that by doing some personal growth. So we are better people and better in relationships when we take the time to work on our personal growth. It's important in a relationship for the people in it to grow as a couple and as individuals. It's a focus on our personal growth that keeps relationships solid and the trust in each other growing. Read, listen, go to counseling if you need it. All these are essential for building trust in your relationships. So important that you build the trust in relationships by working on your personal growth. Here's the next one. And if I skip one, I apologize. But the next one here is be supportive. If I'm out of order number, please forgive me. Be supportive. It is important in a relationship to be supportive of the other person. It is even more important to show that support when we are in a stage of building trust. If one person in a relationship doesn't feel that they can take a risk, make mistakes, or try new things without support, their relationship will falter. On the other hand, being supportive in good times and bad opens us up to living our truth, knowing someone has our back. Be supportive. Gosh, these are some good nuggets, and each one can stand alone, and we can talk about these for hours and hours on end. But be supportive when it comes to your spouse. Be supportive in her dreams and her goals and the things that she desires in her life. Help serve her. Love her. Love her. And when she knows you have her back, she's gonna have yours. I guarantee it. And here's the last one. I'll say number 10. Disagree in private. If you have an argument, if there's something that's going on in public that you're not comfortable with going on with your wife or your spouse, disagree in private or take it to the private room. Do it behind closed doors. So, because a public forum is not a place, it's never a place to voice a disagreement. If what she says or we say is saying doesn't sit well with you, discuss it at home. Discuss it in the car with often not around other people. Discuss it in a private setting. Often disagreeing in front of other people can shame or humiliate the other person. Trust me. Um, I'm a sensitive man, and if I don't feel validated in a relationship, and my wife, she's admitted this to disagree, not disagreeing with me in public, but doing it in private, especially when it comes to just different things that we are involved in, or even how we rear our children, or whatever it may be. But disagreeing in private is very key to building trust relationship. Um, and you feel that person feels less humiliated, and they feel more honored when you're done in private. It's okay to disagree, but just there's rules of engagement when it comes to disagreeing. This kind of behavior will damage your lines of communication and your trust factor. Waiting until you get home offers the benefit of formulating your thoughts in a respectful way to encourage an honest and open discussion. That's plain and simple. Just disagree in private. And this is what I want to close with. Building trust isn't hard when you approach relationship with respect and understanding. The 10 basic principles of trust is easy. Do what you say you're going to do. Stay true to that, and have a trusting relationship will naturally begin to form. And above all else, pray with one another. And that's my closing thought. And I hope this helps you, men, maximize just to really look at how to build trust in relationships and restore some of that trust, and even just build trust in new relationships. It's going to go a long ways for your life. I guarantee it. If you've enjoyed this, would you please pass this on? I appreciate you sharing this wherever you hear this at, or giving you feedback and comments. Are always appreciated.